Hey, Mary Z here with VoiceHacks.net. This is video number 2 on the neutral larynx. This is part 2. So we introduced the concept of the neutral larynx in my earlier videos, and if you haven't gone back and watched my basic series, you really want to start with that to understand and familiarize yourself more with the concepts I'm going to talk about in this video. Basically, the neutral larynx is the concept of singing with a relaxed voice box. It sits relaxed in your throat. Of course, it's still going to work, from time to time. It is a muscle being used, but we want to do it with as much relaxation in there as we possibly can. Having a nice, supported, relaxed, neutral larynx will give you the freedom to sing loudly, safely, to do extreme vocals safely, and really to sing in any style without damaging your voice. The neutral larynx is only able to stay neutral and relaxed with the support of air. We want to always take a few minutes and orient the mind and the brain and the body before we begin to sing so that we can achieve that neutral larynx. We can't simply get the voice box to relax on its own. When we sing, it responds to the abstract thoughts in our minds, which may cause our larynx to tense up right away. So the first thing we want to do is really orient our breath control. So before we go to sing, even if we just have a few minutes, we want to sit there, we actually want to stand, we want to stand nice and tall. We want to go back to my breath support video, and we want to think about breathing deeply and filling the lungs fully. When we stand tall, we keep the sternum up off the rib cage, and we're able to fill our lungs fully. We want to fill them all the way to the bottom. We want to go back to that breath support video, look for some exercises that I have on how to do that. And basically what you'll be doing is filling the lungs completely and releasing the air like a toothpaste tube by squeezing from the bottom on the way out. So having a neutral larynx is essential to any tone placement. So if you go back to my tone placement video, you can remember that we can send our sound vertically, semi-vertically, or horizontally forward, depending on what the style is we want to sing. But for any of those styles, belting, mixed voice, or classical, we want to have a nice neutral larynx for all of those styles. And the breath control remains the same for all those styles. It starts by taking deep breaths. So go back to the breath support video, watch the exercises on how to get used to having taking deeper breaths. But for now, just know that if you want to have a neutral larynx, before you go out on stage, you've got to calibrate your brain to want to do these things. So take a few minutes to take a few of those deep, low breaths and make sure that you're breathing properly and that you're filling the lungs fully between sentences. Fill your lungs fully. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Take a deep breath before every sentence. Plan your breaths in the song so that you can have enough air to relax this larynx. The second key to having a neutral larynx while singing is tone placement. You have your 3 selections from my technique: classical, mixed voice, or belting. You have to decide which technique you're going to use before you start singing. And if you use multiple techniques within one song, you need to have those mentally pre-planned out so you know where to mentally picture your sound going. If you don't have a preset picture in your mind before you start singing, then you will not be able to have a nice relaxed larynx, and your breath control will go all wonky as well. So if you're singing classical, watch my video on classical tone placement. Focus on sending your sound straight up through the top of your head. And that focus combined with that good solid breath support will cause the larynx to relax and stay neutral. When you have a neutral larynx, your soft palate, the part where your hangy ball is, your uvula in the back of the throat, will raise, which will cause the most resonant sound. If you have a high larynx and it's too tense, that soft palate will drag. For example, with a classical singer, if you're singing with a larynx that's not neutral, your sound will sound overcovered, which means your soft palate in the back of your throat is going to drag and cover your windpipe. When the picture in my mind is clear and focused, and I have a clear direction for my sound, that will go away, and I'll get the resonance in the back of my throat back. I'll fill up my lungs, say zia, and imagine that sound going vertical. Z. I picture that sound going vertical. Z. Then I have a nice relaxed larynx because I took in a deep breath first and I pictured my sound going vertical. Z. If I don't do that and I drag my palate, you can hear when my larynx gets pushed down, my soft palate drags along with it. That would be incorrect technique. Take a deep breath, fill the lungs fully, and have good mental focus on where your sound is going. You'll have a nice relaxed throat. You'll feel that throat relaxing. Now, if we move on to a different tone placement, we imagine it going forward, same thing. Deep breath, good focused tone placement. This time, if we're doing it with mixed voice, focus on sending it right through here on this laser beam position. Z. It's a little bit more forward, and I'm using that breath support to relax my larynx in place. Focus on where you're going. Take a deep breath first. The last way would be by belting. You can have a relaxed larynx while belting, but you really have to close your eyes and practice working on that mental focus to send your sound in the correct direction. Belting, rock, pop, country, all of these types of singing, R&B, blues, are forward tone placement. It is not like our other types of singing. And yes, you can still have a neutral larynx, but you need a lot of air and you really need that mental focus. Nay, like that. When I close my eyes, I take a deep breath and I focus on one note at a time. I can really picture the direction of my sound. Once I have good control over that breath support with that sound, I can make sure that I'm not tensing up this larynx. So I recommend for belters who want to keep a neutral larynx, you want to keep that throat relaxed, take a deep breath through the nose. Get your image in your mind straight on where you want it to go and try one long note at a time to stabilize the voice. Nay. Imagine that sound going forward into that very specific direction and keep that throat relaxed. When your throat is relaxed, it will allow the air to engage. Now, if you don't breathe in, you won't be able to sing with a relaxed throat. The voice is a wind instrument, so if you're not putting air through it, it will tense up because it's trying to make noise without air going through its reed. You know, like a clarinet, the voice, the vocal cords are the reed of the voice. They need air to move through them to make proper sound. So if you're not focusing on taking those deep breaths, your battle to sing with a relaxed throat, which is a neutral larynx, will be very great. You will be struggling. So take those deep breaths while you're singing. Even if you're doing extreme vocals, yelling or screaming, planning on filling the lungs and taking a deep breath before you exhale. Your singing is the exhale, or you're yelling or you're screaming. You need to have the air or you're going to do it improperly and you're going to have a lot of tension in here. And if you have a lot of tension in your throat, then your range is going to become limited. You could be subject to injury. You could have all kinds of other problems. So it's really important that we sing with a neutral, relaxed larynx. And when I talk about the neutral larynx, I like to give you guys a variety of examples to listen to in each tone placement. So you can hear good singers singing for educational purposes. I give you little samples in each style. So you can hear what is a classical singer with a nice neutral larynx? What is a belter with a nice neutral larynx? What is a mixed voice with a nice neutral larynx? A supported sound. So if you need more detail on this, please go back and watch my videos. Get really thorough on this. Think about that. When you listen to singers, and when you listen to my examples, you can hear other people and your body will naturally begin to emulate the relaxed sound. When you listen to singers who do it poorly, the body will emulate a tense sound. So if you hear anybody whose voice sounds tense or froggy in the throat, don't listen to those singers when you're getting ready to sing or when you're learning to sing. Check out these examples. Listen to them. Listen to how relaxed and powerful their voice is in spite of having a very relaxed larynx. And then watch my other videos on breath support and tone placement so you can really become an expert on singing with a relaxed larynx and singing powerfully and in control. Thank you guys.
So tell me